Hello again, everybody. I hope today finds you well. Bruce with Diamond Gems 45. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another installment of Player Spotlight. A couple weeks back, I had a Player Spotlight on Curt Flood, and I decided to do it again with none other than St. Louis Cardinal icon, the last 30-game winner in the National League, Dizzy Dean. Here he is in a 1934 gold medal flower edition. Beautiful image. Look, this is a beautiful card. I love this card. He's, this is 1934, in the middle of the Depression, and the guy has a smile on his face because he gets to play baseball for a living. Anyway, like I said, Diz was the last National League 30-game winner. He spent 7 years with the Cardinals, 4 years with the Cubs, and 4 innings with the St. Louis Browns. So if you're playing Immaculate Grid and you see something for like Orioles and Cubs, Orioles and Cardinals, be sure to throw in Dizzy Dean because you'd have a right answer, and it probably wouldn't cost you very many points. Like Babe Ruth, Diz started his career and finished his career in the same city. Started with the Cardinals in St. Louis, finished with the Browns in St. Louis. Of course, that was a lot easier to do back when Babe and Diz played, because there were only, I think 9 cities if you count Brooklyn as part of New York, and 16 teams. Diz was born in 1910. In Lucas, Arkansas. His father was a sharecropper. His mom was a homemaker, and not very much money in the family. He started working as a young age, probably made it into the 2nd grade and probably finished the 2nd grade. That's about as far as his schooling took him. When he turned 19, he went into the Army and played on the Fort Sam Houston baseball team. He pitched well against in an exhibition against the Chicago White Sox, where the Chicago White Sox manager said, "Hey, let's get that Dizzy kid out of here." And the moniker stuck ever since. Played a little bit in the majors in 1930, but he was in the majors to stay in 1932. From 1932 to 1937, as a Cardinal, he won 134 games. He's best known for winning 30 games in 1934 for the Gas House Gang Cardinals. Speaking of which, I remember asking my father at a young age, like 10 or so, what the Gas House meant in Gas House Gang, and he kind of him and hawed over the subject. And then I asked him later in life, like when I was in high school, and he said, "Well, I think a gas house is basically one of those places where men go to seek out the company of women for a little bit of money." So that is what I think a gas house is. I know I'm probably in the minority there, but anyway. Like I said, he pitched and won 30 games in 1934 for the Gas House Gang Cardinals. They beat the Tigers in the World Series. All 4 games the Cardinals won were either 2 by Dizzy Dean or 2 by his brother Paul. In fact, like the Dodgers this year, the Cardinals won Game 6 and Game 7 on the road in Detroit. Paul winning Game 6, Dizzy winning Game 7. He was also played in the 1938 World Series, where he was 0-1 for the Cubs. The 1938 World Series might have been one of the most one-sided World Series in history. The Yankees beat the Cubs 4-0. The Yankees, for the entirety of the World Series. Think of this now as pitching is now. But for the entirety of that World Series, 4 games, the Yankees used 4 different pitchers. And the total time of all all 4 games added up is just short of 8 hours. So they made a quick business of the Cubs in 1938. Back to 1934, Dizzy was known for like some, big time pronouncements and maybe bragging, but I think he said if you can do it, it's not really bragging. They had a doubleheader against the Dodgers, and Dizzy pitched the first game and threw a shutout, but his brother Paul pitched the second game and threw a no-hitter. And at the end of that, at the end of that doubleheader in the dressing room, Dizzy was known to tell a sports writer, if I would have known my brother Paul would have thrown a no-hitter in the second game, I would have thrown one too. And sometime in that, he might have been with the Cubs when he did this. He made a bet with a guy that he could strike out Vince DiMaggio 4 times in a game. So he had him struck out 3 times, and Vince DiMaggio came to the plate again, and he fouled one off, and the catcher was getting underneath it, and Diz was screaming at him, let it drop, let it drop, let it drop. The catcher let it drop, and Dizzy struck him out on the next pitch. While he was broadcasting for the St. Louis Browns in 1947, Dizzy boasted he could pitch better than 9 out of the 10 guys on the pitching staff. One of the guys on the pitching staff was a guy by the name of Fred Sanford. Lamont, you big dummy! Not that Fred Sanford, but the pitcher Fred Sanford. Also on the 47 St. Louis Browns, the second baseman was Johnny Berardino, who later in life became Dr. Hardy on General Hospital. Anyway, some of the players' wives got word that he said that, heard it on the radio during the broadcast that he said that about the pitching staff. So they went to management and, told them, look, this got to stop. So the management made him put up or shut up. So he pitched in a game at the age of 37 for the St. Louis Browns, and he pitched 4 shutout innings and singled in his only at bat. And when he was running down to first, he pulled a hamstring. So he touches first. They take him out for a pinch runner. Then he goes back to the broadcast booth and says, man, oh man, I'm glad my hamstring's not in my throat. I make my living talking now and not pitching. So that was his only 4 innings with the St. Louis Browns. So anyway, his broadcasting career was quite expansive. He broadcasted games for the Cardinals from 41 through 46, for the Browns in 41 through 48. So he kind of did double duty there in Seattle. Broadcasted for the Yankees in 50 and 51, and the Atlanta Braves in 66 through 68. Nationally, Mutual Broadcasting in 1952, ABC in 1953 and 1954. But he is best known as a broadcaster for CBS, paired at first with Buddy Blattner, and then eventually with his old partner, as he used to call him, Pee Wee Reese. So you had, at one time, 2 Hall of Fame baseball players in the same broadcast booth doing the game of the week on Saturday afternoon. And he, during his broadcasting career, he was well known for butchering the English language, and there would be complaints from English teachers to the radio and baseball front offices as far as his employment was concerned, and they would complain all the time about it. And he just got out of it and kept broadcasting and made it, that dumb country boy shtick, that was his MO. So also, when he was broadcasting, one of the things I remember the most about him, you can find him singing this on YouTube with the lyrics, and once again on the old TV show Hee Haw, where they call him Diz Dean. Anyway, he would, if the game was boring or there was a rain delay, he would sing a song called Wabash Cannonball, which is an old country western song. And you can, like I said, you can find him doing that a couple times on YouTube. You know, I do these, like I said, I did one on Curt Flood, and I did one on now on Dizzy Dean, because these guys have an interesting life outside of, you know, between the lines, that type of thing. He has an extensive broadcasting career. Diz is one of the first guys I can remember as a broadcaster. Long about the time I knew of Dizzy Dean as a broadcaster, I finally found out about Harry Carey, and then subsequently Jack Buck as a broadcaster. So, you know, it goes way back for me. Of course, I go way back myself. Anyway, Diz is my dad's favorite player, or was my dad's favorite player, along with Pepper Martin. My dad was from Oklahoma. Pepper was from Oklahoma. And my dad liked everybody from Oklahoma except for Mickey Mantle. Anyway, my dad graduated from high school in 1934. He grew up a Cardinal fan. And of course, in 1934 was, like I said, the famous Gas House Gang. And Diz was the ringleader of that, along with Pepper and Leo DeRocher and those fellas. So quite a bit of baseball history in the 1934 Cardinals. Anyway, Dizzy died I consider it young. It's younger than me. He died at 64 in Reno, Nevada, and was a Hall of Famer. Became a baseball Hall of Famer before that. He was in the inaugural baseball class, Hall of Fame class of the St. Louis Cardinal Hall of Fame in 2014. Of course, his number 17 is retired by the St. Louis Cardinals. And yeah, like I said, I love this card. It's just so nice. It's a 1934 card from his 30-win season. And yes, look, I know that the Gowdy cards from 1934 have a lot more cachet, but this is an image of a guy, like I said, smiling during the Depression. And interesting story behind this card is that I saw this card on like a Day Zero Strongsville video, I believe, made by the For Collectors channel. And it was Howard Chasser's table. And this was back in April. And he had a stack of these in his display case, and Dizzy was on top. And I said, well, I won't see that man's table again until I get to the National. So finally, it's Wednesday. The National opens up. National opens up at 3. It's about 3:30. I'm at Howard Chasser's table, and I have the deal done. I told him that story about seeing the Strongsville video and waiting, like 3 months. You got a kick out of that, and gave me a really, really good deal on this card. And yeah, like here's the front. It's in a 5. I thought I'd be able to afford a 4, but that's how good the deal was. It's a 5, and then it's a blank back, but yeah. There's the Dizzy Dean 1934 gold medal flower, the only Dean I own. Hopefully my collection will keep getting bigger. To that end, Old Diamond Jim's 45 at the age of 70 is thinking about going back into the workforce part-time. I've sent out some resumes and let it be known I'm looking for an easy part-time job that a 70-year-old can do. So at any rate, that's that. Okay, folks, thanks for sticking with me for so long, coming up on like 15 minutes. And once again, like and subscribe. That means the world to me. Leave a comment. I always try to answer all my comments. And as usual, so long for just a while.